Okay, hi everyone. So welcome to the second part of exercise 2. What we're going to be doing in this exercise is learning how to rig and pose our model here. So you can see what I've got now is this sort of cool system where I can grab different parts of my model and pose it using this skeleton. And then, if I hide the skeleton, I can pose my model into sort of any position without having to uh, move each thing one at a time. I've got a few little mistakes here that I need to clean up. I can see that where I parented my this knee ball here isn't so good. So let's see if we can work out what error I've done there in the course of this video tutorial. Okay, and one other thing I did is I added a different head. I thought, why not? So another thing we can do once we've got all of this parented up is, we can sort of move our entire armature just using this skeleton. So it's kind of cool, and this is sort of the basics of how character modeling and character animation is done. And you can do all sorts of stuff, like you can animate this rig. You can even add like motion capture data to these skeletons and have them move around quite naturally. So it's a nice set of skills to have. I admit it's not something that I'm an expert in. So what I'm going to do in this tutorial is I'll show you how to get started. Then I'm going to divert over to a more professional tutorial for making the skeleton and getting it all sort of connected together. And then I'm going to finish off the tutorial myself, just because there's a few things in the professional video that won't work for our model. Okay, so let's go back to where we finished off. So I'll go back to this file here. This should be where you finished off from the first part of exercise 2. So we need to make a few changes before we start our rigging. The first is, when we do rigging, we usually have our model in what's called a T pose. So what that will be would be something like, if I grab these, it will be something like, the arms out like this. Okay, so what we can do is, I'm just going to do that to one of the arms, but actually that one I don't want to rotate. So I'll just undo that. I just want to rotate these ones, because I think on these like artist mannequins, I think the shoulder doesn't really move, I think. Okay, now I can copy this across, but if I copy it now by pressing, let me turn on my screencast keys. If I copy this now by pressing like Shift D to duplicate, what I'd usually do is just scale it on the x-axis by -1, but you can see how it's kind of all getting a little bit out of order. And so for the reason for that is we just need to apply our rotation information. So there's probably a bit of funky information here. So this is something that it's good to get used to doing, is applying our transforms. And in this case, our scale is good, but our rotation's all out of whack. So I'll just go click on one object at a time and go Control A and click rotation. And that's just going to reset the rotation to 0 on all of these objects. Okay, that's reset the rotation. All right. So the next thing you're going to want to do is grab all of these, and here we will just go, now we can go Shift D to duplicate, and just left click to activate it, then S for scale, X for the x-axis, and -1, hit enter, and then we can just bring it across, and there's our T-pose. So that kind of looks a bit better. And so now just delete the old arm pieces here. And yeah, all right, that's enough to get us started. Maybe I want to fix up the arm placement, still not super great. I just want to have it actually over those balls. I think it looks a bit better. Okay, that's good. All right, so what next? The other thing is we want to have our model in the middle of the world space. So I'll just go into wireframe mode and drag select everything and press G and Y and just bring it so it's in the middle there, and I'll just look at the side and the front. And the front, I think we could probably get into the middle a little bit more. So GX and have it nice and centered. Okay, that looks pretty good. All right. The next thing I want to check is, when I did that duplication, some of my parts probably got renamed incorrectly. So I've got all of these things on L, but then I've got all of these L.001. So I'm just going to double click on that, delete that, and put in R. So anywhere there's a 001, I'll just replace that with R. So everything is back named to where it should be. Okay, great. Okay, now what I'm actually going to get you to do from here is follow another tutorial, because basically he does a really good job, and to be honest, if I made this myself, it's so easy for me to make a small mistake and I don't want to confuse you. So I'm going to recommend that you try this tutorial here. I'm going to link it in the description, but I want you to stop at exactly like 13 minutes in, because that's where his process will differ from ours. So you can pause this video here and I will stop my recording, and then you can come back once you've done that tutorial, and then we'll keep going. Oh, and one more thing I'd like you to do before you get started is I'd like you to keep a spare version of your model, just in case you do anything and you sort of confuse yourself. It's a good habit to have different, have a few spare versions of our previous work. So what we can do here with the mannequin model is just duplicate the collection by right-clicking on it. And I'm just going to rename this one from model to mannequin rigged. And then I can start rigging. And what I'll probably also do is save as and call this something like mannequin rigging. And I've already got a file here, so I'll call it mannequin rigging 2. Just so I've sort of got one file before I did the rigging and one file after, in case I want to go back and, save some things if I made some mistakes or something like that. Okay, so now you can go and do that second tutorial and come back once you've reached the 13-minute mark. Okay, so if you made it through the previous tutorial up to 13 minutes, what you should have is your spare version of the mannequin here, your mannequin rigged folder, and your armature. And if you go into pose mode, you should be able to, grab this Control IK at the bottom and use G for grab and be able to sort of move it up, right click to undo, grab this hip, move it down. And then with the arms, we didn't do any IK on the arms, you obviously could, but you can also just rotate them and kind of do what you want with them. And that gives you a lot of freedom to start moving and posing your body. Rigging gets far more complicated than this, but I thought this was sort of a pretty nice and simple introduction with some, interesting problem solving and a reasonable amount of complexity. But what you would have seen in his video is that his model was one big piece and it sort of bent around the skeleton. Now we have a mannequin, so none of it is bendy, it's all these hard pieces. So we're actually rigging our mannequin a little bit more like you'd rig a robot or something like that. It's all these kind of hard pieces, hard individual pieces that we don't want to bend. We just want them to sort of move with the skeleton. So we do it a little bit differently, but it's quite simple. Basically what we do is I'll start here with the hand, and I'll left click on the hand and then shift left click on the skeleton. Then I'll just go into pose mode and I'll just click on the bone that I want to parent to the hand. So now you can see that that bone is blue, and I'll just press Control P and just click on bone. So that's going to parent the whole hand to this bone. So now if we rotate the hand, we can see the hand bone, we can see the hand moving with the bone. And basically we will go through, maybe I'll just do half of it because it's very repetitive, but basically we just go through every piece and do the same thing. So I'll do the rest of the arm to show you again. Go back to object mode, click on, now there's a wrist object there, I've got to get that one, they're easy to forget. So I've got my wrist selected, you can see there, and now I'll go shift select the whole armature, pose mode, and I think I'll pose the wrist also to the hand, I guess. I think that makes sense. So the hand is already selected, and I'll just go Control P and bone again. So back to object mode, I'll select the arm now, shift select the armature, go into pose mode. This time I'll click on the arm bone here and Control P, bone. Now back to object mode, I'll get this elbow, shift select the armature, pose mode, Control, I think now I'll do the upper arm, Control P, bone, and back to object mode, and I'll grab the the upper arm here, I will go shift select the armature, go into pose mode, and this is already selected, Control P and bone. So now we should have, if I rotate this bone here, yeah, great, it's all parented, but you can see I haven't done the shoulder yet. I'm going to, I think, leave the shoulder parented maybe to this one. So I'll do the body, and then I'll go down down one leg or something like that. Okay, so object mode, I'll grab the torso. Actually, no, I'll do this before I forget. I'll grab this shoulder, shift select the armature, go into pose mode. Yep, click on the spine, that's good. Control P, bone. Okay, back to object mode. Now I'm grabbing the chest, shift select the armature, pose mode. Yep, this spine is already selected. Control P, bone. And then there's this little hip, so I'll go object mode, grab the hip, shift select the armature, pose mode, and yeah, I think we can leave it with that spine as well, so that's fine, that's selected. Control P, bone, and then back to object mode, grab this sort of hip area, shift select the armature, pose mode, and it'll be this one now, Control P, bone, and now let's just go down the leg. I'll get this hip ball here, shift select the armature, and I think I'll attach this one to the leg. Pose mode, grab that bone, Control P, bone, and just continuing down the leg. Yep, that's good. Control P, bone, and I'll get this knee bone here. Object, shift select the armature, go to pose mode. Yep, this one's fine. Control P, bone, and then I'll go back to object mode. Grab the lower leg, shift select the armature, go to pose mode, click the lower leg, Control P, bone, and then there's a little, I think there's an ankle sort of sphere there. I have to grab that in wireframe, it's easier to see. Go back to material preview, shift select the armature, go to pose mode, and we'll keep it on this leg as well. Control P, bone, and finally down to the foot. So grab the foot, shift select the armature, go to pose mode, click on the foot bone, Control P, and bone. Okay, so now in pose mode, if I grab my handle here, yeah, I've got the whole sort of leg moving there. If I grab this, so you can see what I haven't parented. It looks kind of funny, but you know, that's just continuing the exact same thing. And my horse head that I showed you at the beginning, you know, exactly the same thing, right? So I'll go back to object mode, click on my horse head, shift select the armature, and then go into pose mode and grab the head bone, Control P, and bone. So now if I rotate this, you know, I might delete the other head. The reason I did this with the horse head is this is sort of an area that I want you guys to explore creatively. That much like the first tutorial, I don't want you to just make exactly what I make. You know, that might be a good idea to get you started, but you know, I want you to have some fun with this. You know, add whatever objects on you can think of, model things yourself, cut and paste things, download things and chuck them on there, and you know, make it kind of an interesting character. Do sort of wherever your imagination takes you. What I hope to have shown you here is just the basic steps to get the character modeled, textured, and now rigged. And so in exercise 3, we're going to sort of do some posing and animating. But this should be enough for now. All right, thanks everyone. Bye-bye.